Welcome to All Docs on Deck, where we explore wellness, wealth, and womanhood through real conversations with women doctors across the diaspora. Another episode starts now.
We are here with our very first guest, the one, the only, Dr. T. And when I say that I am so excited to have you here, Dr. T, like I really mean it. I absolutely love you. I cannot wait for our audience to get to know you. But first, I'm going to introduce you. So we are girlfriends. We're taking off the heels and the white coats and all those things. But we are going to give credit where credit is due because Dr. T is well accomplished. She is brilliant. Like just the brilliant mind is one of the things that attracted me to her. So Dr. T, her full name is Dr. T. Okasi Nwozo. And she is an executive leader. She's a coach, she's a speaker, she's a host, and she enjoys guiding meaningful conversations and creating spaces where people can think deeply, connect authentically, and lead with intention. And she does that whatever space she's in. When I first met her, we were in the middle of the Indian Ocean and she was doing all of those things there. So whether she's on an island, on a boat, in a boardroom, on a stage, or hosting a room full of guests, that is what she brings, a thoughtful blend of strategic insight with warmth. And that's a perfect combination because a lot of times we meet people who are brilliant, but they don't have that warm component. And so she brings like that comfortable, like auntie vibe where you feel really comfortable. But next thing you know, she's just like read you your life and gave you a whole strategy for living. And she invites people to show up fully and to engage with purpose. So professionally, where she works, she serves as the Chief Human Capital Officer, and she leads people through organizational strategy focused on leadership development, workplace culture, and employee engagement. And she does this at DC Central Kitchen. And throughout her career, she has worked at the intersection of leadership, people strategy, and organizational growth, helping leaders and teams navigate complex challenges with clarity and confidence. Did y'all get that? My girl ain't no joke. Like,
Okay.
yeah, I saw her in action. I went to her job, but I saw her doing all of these things. In addition to her executive work, Dr. T is a facilitator. She's a host and a coach who enjoys conversations that spark reflection, growth, and forward movement. She is a Gallup Clifton Strengths certified coach, a Maxwell certified leadership coach. So she's a real coach, y'all. And her approach is grounded in the belief that leadership is most powerful when it's rooted in connection, in clarity, and intention. Dr. T holds a PhD from Howard University, an MBA from Georgetown University, and a bachelor's degree from the University of Pennsylvania. Yes, and she is married to the love of her life and is the proud mother of 3 beautiful and brilliant daughters. So join me in welcoming Dr. T.
Yes. Welcome.
Thank you. And I have to ask, how did you feel as you know you were listening to the introduction? How did you feel?
Who this number? It's interesting.
I love it.
It's an interesting sort of exercise, really, to hear your bio if you think about it, because most days, most times, you're just being, you're just functioning, and hopefully in the truest version of yourself, right? And so you're not always operating with these titles at the forefront of your mind, and if it would be hard to do so, right? Because it's just things you've amassed. Just you're in service to being able to do what it is, at least for me, what I truly enjoy doing. And in the course of doing that, these are things that have come along the way and have framed and shaped, what it is I get to do on a daily basis. So, now it didn't hurt the fact that you read it and the way you read it and you put your own. It's certainly an interesting exercise to read it, and especially in the midst of this, within the context of the girlfriend space, with 2 amazing, highly achieved women who've done amazing things in your individual right. So, yeah, cool stuff.
As we talk about humanizing the doctor and our doctor girlfriends, what is y'all's girlfriend story? We just talk about that for a second before we get into the nitty gritty, because this is our first time that we get to meet. So, girlfriend, thank you for introducing me to your girlfriend. So, what's your girlfriend story? 2020
2023. We have a mutual friend, and so T and I, we are part of a book club. It's called Books and Desserts Literary Society, best book club in the world. And so we have a mutual friend who's also part of the book club. T is the chapter host of the DMV chapter, and so you got, well, I mean, you can also chime in too, T, but they were
I
planning a
know you're
trip to
doing great.
Mauritius to celebrate the 10-year anniversary of book club.
Yeah.
And so you could invite a friend. So our mutual friend invited me.
Mm.
And again, so this kind of goes back to how you and I met Khnuma too, because the that trip to Greece with girlfriends that I didn't
Yes.
know, and I saw that it didn't kill me. I survived, and I
Right.
ended up with a tribe of sisters, gave me the courage to try it again. And
Uh,
so I said, okay, well, I'll try this again. I'll go and, going to Mauritius, didn't even know this place existed, with women that I don't know other than my one friend and her sister. And so T was one of the first people that I met.
Yeah, what's interesting is, so even though I knew it's an amazing it's amazing book club. I knew most, well, definitely all the women in the DMV chapter. I am an introvert, so sometimes the idea of being in a big group, just it's not something I'm like, yeah, can't wait
right.
to meet new people. So I went in like, I don't know, okay, I guess.
Yeah.
And my sister always makes fun of, she's so sick of it because I always start off every group trip like this where I'm like, I'm just gonna be to the side and I'm
Yes. And then
just gonna
never
say hi,
happened.
hi, just I'm not. And next thing Sherlonda comes in and I'm also a strengths nerd, right? So Gallup
Uh-huh.
strengths. And I
Uh-huh.
don't know what I said or what she said. The next time we're like, we're just chatting it up about
Yes.
everything and
Oh,
anything, and the rest is history. She also, brought a lot of her strengths and a lot of her, I think it was an exercise she had us doing that was actually quite transformative for me. It was a very simple exercise. I think we had to either, I don't know, remind me, but there was something that just
Was it the
allowed me
pebble?
the pebble, and we had to
mm,
Tossing it.
throw the pebble, toss the pebble
Yep.
into the ocean and release whatever it
Yep.
was that was holding us
mm.
back. Wait a minute.
Wow.
Yes, that's
Just
exact.
like the
Wow.
pebble.
Wow, how could I have forgotten? Look at us,
Wow.
just forgetting the transformative pieces because it was so simple, but yet it
Right.
Hmm.
But so
had such an
profound.
impact in my life because I was able to release whatever had been holding me back and really come into my own. I think by way of visibility, right? I'd always been doing
Right.
what I was doing, but I think the one limiting piece or space was just my comfort with being so visible and so accessible to more people than
Yes.
my very small family, well, large family as it were, but really within that space. And so,
Yeah.
so thank you for that, and thank you for introducing me to your girlfriend. So,
Well, thank you for sharing that. I love that the undertone that I'm getting from both of you with that story is having the courage to just have an open heart, do it scared anyway, right? And because there was more good that came out of it. So a long-term friendship and a sisterhood. So that's really beautiful. And it's so timely that we're talking about relationships because that actually kind of leads me to one of the areas that you highlighted, Dr. T. When we reached out about the podcast, is that you're passionate about relationships, love, co-workers, and community. So you already started to talk about how you represent that. So when we think about it, like from a mental health perspective, how does that show up in relationships and friendships? What has been your experience with that?
yeah, I find community so intrinsic to just our mental health and wellness, right? So I think from just the idea of identity, as it relates to being part of something, right? When you think about major mental health challenges like loneliness, anxiety, stress, problems that present as bigger, the idea of being able to share the problem one alleviates the burden in of itself. Again, the idea of the lies we tell ourselves. I'm all alone by myself. Well, you could
Mm.
easily dispel that lie when you're a part of something very real, that is quite literally more than you, right? I'm a product of several communities. I've come from a very close knit, incredibly huge, but extremely close knit family, and that's all I've ever known. And every so often, more frequently and recently, when I close my eyes and I thank God for the many gifts and benefits He's given me, family is one of them because they're just the gift they keep giving. And even beyond that, being able to nurture and cultivate communities outside people that are not blood related has been very helpful. We call them networks now, but traditionally, community is how we function. Community was how we had access to resources, was how we helped each other, was how we solved problems. When folks get married, they're not getting married, at least traditionally, as individuals. Their families are actually marrying. And so it's just such a fundamental part, I think, of mental wellness. And I think it might be one that we tend to overlook, even when we're part of communities, right? Sometimes we seek access or solutions, but we don't credit community as much as we can.
Wow.
Perhaps it could come from a scared place. It could come from maybe a lack of understanding of what community is supposed to be. But I think being part of one, and one that has proven to be a safe place and space for folks to navigate, can be incredibly helpful. So I live to nurture it. I live to promote it, to support it. It's not always perfect, because community comprises humans, and
Right.
we are
We don't,
individuals,
yeah.
our individual flaws, but collectively, I mean, even when you think about family, individually,
Yes.
I could tell you what's wrong with each of my sisters. I love them to pieces, but
Yes.
collectively, we are a formidable. Let me tell you something. Like, where my girls at? I lack
Yes.
nothing, because I just an amazing uh set of, in various groups, as Dr. Sherlonda mentioned. She also has various groups of girlfriends. I'm sure you
Yes.
do as well. And so sometimes they create these concentric circles, and
Mm.
sometimes they get to do this. But ultimately, I think it's just such a strong foundation of who we are. And when we ignore it, we ignore a very critical core part of ourselves, which is why I truly believe in just promoting and highlighting, and saying, hey guys, this is real, this is important, and we have a role to play in keeping that going.
All right, so Dr. T, so we're talking about doctor, but we're all individuals. Who are you before you became Dr. T? Tell us about T.
Yeah, oh T, I miss that girl. T, wow. Okay, so let me start from the very beginning, right? So growing up, I was an incredibly quiet, reserved personality, which is why when people still struggle with the idea, when I say, "Oh, I'm an introvert," they're like, "Yeah, right." I hear you've heard you've heard the teasing and the taunting. I'm like, "No, really,
Yes.
really, I am an introvert. You got to believe me." But for a while, for many years, many decades, I spent a lot of time just observing and enjoying life and people, as they were, and I genuinely just enjoyed that. And then, I went to school, undergrad. I'm not, it's hard to pinpoint when I really just fully came into my own, but I do remember I take these like career assessments, and every single time it would sort of land on, you'd be good with people. And I'm like, and I'd always joke, and I'd be like, okay, so you're saying I'd make a good mother, boo-hoo. You know what I mean? Because I was like, I am not doing human resources. Okay. I'm a strategist. I'm about
Yes.
structures and systems. I
Yes.
don't do people. They're a lot, so there was a lot of denial going on there, because I'm like, no, I only like observing. I don't really like engaging. You know what I mean? But with time, because you are who you are, and it
Hmm.
didn't really come up as a thing. It was just people would have problems, and I'd be like, let's talk about it. Like, I don't like seeing people struggling. I don't like, sometimes I'm having difficult conversations, almost like sort of counseling and coaching. And and so sometimes it's leading to tears, and I'm like, I know, but unfortunately, you know what I mean? I don't like, even if I'm the cause of the distress, you know what I mean?
Yes.
I don't like seeing it. And so with time, even though I started out in operational management, my favorite part of the job was definitely people. Oh my goodness, I absolutely enjoyed it. And eventually I transitioned to the human resources role, because my thing was, I want to impact everyone's life. I don't want it to just be my team. I want to create strategies and policies that impact everybody. That was my thing.
Wow.
And so that's how I got into it. And then I thought I was single-handedly changing the world of human resources. I didn't realize the actual profession was evolving. So anyway, because I also have a big ego. So It turns out we were all doing it together. So believe it or not, I was still struggling with purpose. I didn't quite know, besides being a mom, and you couldn't, when I first became a mother, oh, you had to watch the way you talk to me. I'd be like, excuse me, I'm a mother. I'm somebody's mother. Like you, like I'd be in business school, like,
I love it.
because as a mother, at the time I was a mother of two, and everyone knew I was a mother of two, because I'd be like, "No, I'm so sorry. I'm a mother of two.
Mother,
So
right?
you gotta
Right,
talk to me nice. I brought
right.
life into this world. It
Yes.
was my biggest accomplishment, single-handedly.
Wow.
Like I didn't care what you asked me. That was what I had done. You know what I mean? So clearly I needed something. So even though I started, this my role at DC Central Kitchen, and it was something that it was actually a lifelong. So Chief Human Capital Officer was something that was a dream of mine to step into that title. I still was like it was still unclear what my purpose was. Right now, I am a lifelong learner, and if you let me get another degree, I will probably go to law school or something. I do enjoy it. And so at the time, I decided, to pursue a PhD because I thought that would, I find it, you're a doctor of a subject matter, you're a subject matter expert, and I thought that would somehow ground me in something because I was going through this space where I was desperately looking or seeking my purpose. What I didn't realize though was that it was more accessible than I thought it was. I was thinking of this grand, lofty thing, and almost running away from what my ultimate purpose is, which is people, as it were, right? Just being able to connect and allow people to, essentially what I enjoy doing is partnering with people and helping them, extract whatever that best version of themselves is, right? So authenticity, because I do believe that to the extent that you can figure it out, the rest is history. The world's your oyster. Sky's the limit. You know what I mean? Like I feel like
Yes.
authenticity is key. And so that was what the PhD was for me. So after I did get my PhD, ultimately, it's kind of like, what's next? What do I do? Because
Right.
no one talks about that.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? Like,
That
Mhm.
is so
Yep.
like
true.
I don't know all of my
Mhm.
life, because it seemed like
Yeah.
it took my lifetime. Similar to pregnancy. I feel like it's you know,
It
you
took
have
us
to be
forever.
like, I don't know what's happening. All of a sudden, no one's standing up for you anymore. It's the transition is hard.
Yeah, the transition is
So
absolutely.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And so I just had to figure it out, which is why I think I met Dr. Shalonda, a couple of years after that, where I was still like, I don't know. And I don't feel like going back out. I don't feel like putting myself back out there to figure
Mhm.
this thing out. And then when I released the Pebble, I was like,
Mhm.
world, here I come, right? So that's really how everything came together. And so because I'm not necessarily I'm no longer in this sort of misaligned space, it's easier for me to just I guess give myself grace and just take it one day at a time, not necessarily striving for a specific goal, right? Because the grounding is there. So there isn't necessarily a need for me to be like, what's next? The pressure of what's next
Mhm.
is something that I've also released because I think everything has come together ultimately, and it's just me living and doing the things that make me happy on a daily basis.
Woo!
Love that. Right.
Mm.
Yeah. Hand raised to that.
I got a lot out of that. That last piece you said about living in a space where you're not misaligned. So it frees you to have to give yourself more grace, and then it frees you to not have to strive for a particular goal and to just be.
Yes.
Exactly it. Just be.
I love that because I feel like after I got my degree, people are like, "So what are you going to do with your degree?" It's like, that pressure of like, well, like, come on now. Like, come on now. I'm exhausted. Can I rest for a minute?
Right.
Like,
Right.
as if, the education and the research in itself wasn't like a task in it. I was like, who gave y'all a press release that I'm trying to do something with it after? I love to learn. And that's why I
Right.
did it. I did it for me. Can I just say
Right.
Yep.
There
so I
you go.
absolutely love that it's led you to this place where you found your purpose and you're able to live, fully and be present. I was,
No, I'm
or you had
still
a
I'm
thought.
still stuck on with her. I'm still stuck on her last answer
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
again, with I feel like in school, like from the time that we start school, it's always the pursuit of the next. And then
Right.
in Dr. T, when you said that and if I heard you correctly, you were saying almost like when you started your PhD, you kind of thought like, well, maybe this will help me to identify what my purpose is, and then I get this thing, and then it'll be like boom. But then even with that, it's like, well, I'm still trying to figure it out. And I think that's a good point for people who are listening. So maybe we have some women who are listening and they're deciding whether or not they want to go back to school to pursue the doctorate. And if you do, just make sure that it's not like, well, once I get this doctorate, then I will
Right.
become. That's not the case.
Very
Yeah.
correct.
Yeah.
I want to also just propose the idea of a support group. Again, I feel like I needed I needed a specific community to tell me this actually, to
Yeah.
tell me that it doesn't solve, it's a terminal degree, but life
Right.
doesn't
Right.
it's not actually literally
Yeah.
terminal.
Right.
It's you still gotta move. You still gotta move on, you know?
Yeah.
So and it's okay. It's okay if you did it just to learn because you do
Right.
learn a
Hmm.
lot. And it's okay to take a break even if it was in service to something bigger. Because it's quite it can be draining. It is draining. It's a lot. It's a lot that you put in. It's a lot of time and dedication and it's I think normalizing the idea of breaks in
Yeah.
general, I think is
Oh,
also
Yes.
something we can certainly adopt.
because as you were talking about those transitions, right, I'm also thinking about all of the emotions, like the range of emotions that we go through in that process. And, as being a mom, being a leader in your organization, going through the PhD and all of that, what would you say were like your mental health tips? And you kind of spoke about, the community and the grace, and that's so important. And so you can expand on that too. But, what
Yeah.
would you say are three daily practices for
Yeah.
better mental health? Like, what did you use then and what do you use now?
Yeah, absolutely. I think a lot of my mental health practices and, whether daily or every so often, really stems from, my background and sort of how I've come up, right? So
Yeah.
community wise, I'm Nigerian. And so just I think traditionally, sort of the traditional African philosophy setup is again, community is very important, family is very important. And so um they've always been a big part of how I de-stress, right? Now, as an introvert, it might sound contradictory because it's a lot of people, but they don't care. So you got to show up. But what
Right.
I found is no matter how stressed out I am,
Yes.
whenever I show up, I'm going to laugh. I'm going to have a good time. I'm going to be happy. So in a way, I'm glad that I don't have a choice,
Right.
because
The
you're
pros
gonna have a
and
good
cons
time.
of it all, right?
Oh my goodness. I remember when I was expecting either my first or second, and maybe my second, and I was having challenges. And so ordinarily, I'd want to I'd want to be by myself. Oh
Right.
no, you don't. They would ring my door. We're here. Come on in. We got food.
Right.
They will come to you, right? They will
Yes.
come because you are what sadness? Why? Why are you sad?
Yes.
We're here, right? So they're a big part of it. But the flip side of it, which maybe when I don't share that because that's the only way I can get my own alone time, is alone time. It's a
Yes.
major source of my strength, my mental strength and agility, just being able to create what I call a productive calm, right? So it's not like I'm alone just being, although that would be lovely, but just maybe creating a quiet sort of sacred space to hear from God, to talk. I'm also faith-based. That's also a big part of my identity and my background and community. Whether it is listening to music, but just being able to declutter,
So, yeah.
where I'm not thinking of anything. I'm just decluttering. I'm letting it all flow. I'm letting it all go. When I commute, one of the reasons I have a long commute when I do go to the office is it's alone time. And I treasure that alone time
So,
because it's a big part of when I show up and I have to, as Dr. Shalon has witnessed, and I have to be there for everybody, right? And the whole idea of being there for one of the things I quickly learned is when someone says, "Do you have a minute?" You
mm,
better have that minute because like not that minute that
right.
you think you don't have is going to lead to hours on end because
Yes.
what you could have intervened or prevented or guided or
Mm,
coached by you not giving that time could turn into something else. And someone listening might be like, "Oh, that's too much. You don't set boundaries," but I actually do, right? So
right.
when I'm in the office, that is their time. The
Yeah.
second I leave the building,
Yes.
that is my time.
I love
And so
it.
I spend time. I mean, I'm giving you
Yeah.
my time. You know what I mean?
Right.
Even in terms of emails, I don't check I'm there. I'm like, let's hear it. What's going on? And we're able to, and I don't mind doing that because people need that. It makes the difference, I believe, right?
Yes.
Just taking the 5 minutes, sometimes taking the hour, quite frankly,
Yes.
just to have someone feel heard and feel it's as a human resources professional, I know folks again may frown on this, but it certainly eliminates a lot of paperwork, right? Just giving people the space
Wow.
to be heard, giving people the space to feel supported. And so but to give them that but quiet time is a key part of my mental health practice. And then once a month, on the physical side of things, I do get massages, hour-long massages. My sister gets 2 hours, and so I tried that for the first time, I want to say, when I got back to Nigeria, and I'm like, 2 hours it is.
Right.
Because it's
We're
why stop
never going
working
back.
when you could get two, you know what I mean?
Right, exactly.
So, I promote. Well, if that's your thing,
Yes.
they're so helpful just to de-stress. And then I work out. I have good seasons
Mm.
for working out consistently, and not so good seasons. I happen to be in a good season, so I could actually mention it and not be a liar.
And not feel guilty.
Right, there you go. If you ask me in December, I'd be like,
It's
what?
seasonal. You know, we're Mother
No,
Nature too. Mother Nature has its seasons. It's
there
okay for
you
us
go.
to have ours too.
Absolutely. I
Right.
love
That's
that.
right.
Thank you for permission.
Yes.
Mother Nature, exactly. All those things. So that would be my ritual.
I
And
absolutely.
when you talked about Dr. T, the presence, when you said just being present and showing up for people, y'all, I have to stop right here and pause and tell you what I witnessed. So I had an opportunity just earlier this year. So it was this year to visit Dr. T while she was at work. And that is exactly what I saw. So she was giving us a tour. So it was a two of us plus her first cousin, which is also a friend of mine. And she was giving us a tour. And as she gave us this tour, like several times, people would stop and say, hey, Dr. T, do you have a moment? Or Dr. T, can I show you something? It was from start to finish, from checking in when we were signing in as visitors to people there. And it just blew my mind because I was like, it takes a lot of mental
It
energy
does.
to show up. And I've seen people where they seem frazzled to take that moment to share with people. But no, Dr. T, you were just like, oh, yeah, sure.
I love
And the eye contact, the posture, the body language, the calmness, and you created that space. And so I thought to myself after that, I said, wow. So then I started thinking, you know how you have a grandmother or like a auntie and you think you're the favorite grandchild or the favorite niece. And I
Right.
said,
everybody's gonna think they're Dr. T's favorite.
right. And just like even we've had conversations before and just that space that you hold, like undivided attention. And then I realized, wow, she's doing this like all day in every aspect of her life. She's doing it with her family, she's doing it at work, she's doing it in book club, and she's
Right.
doing it within, with her sisters and in different segments of her family. That routine that you have, that quietness, whether it's the commute and you're
Yes.
just having that space or just sitting out in nature or praying. Now I understand why that's so important. And with that being said, the way that you replenish is probably going to look a lot different from somebody else who's not solving high level problems, like very important problems for people. Like you said,
Right.
it's really intervention because you don't know what you just halted, just by sharing a few minutes with people. So I'm so glad to hear that you are so intentional about pouring back into yourself because literally you would not be able to do what you do at the level in
Right.
which you do it if you weren't doing that consistently. So kudos.
Kudos. Yes. I was
Thank
thinking the
you.
same thing. Like, what a beautiful way to like hold space for someone else's humanity. And in order to be able to do that, you have to be able to do it for yourself. So I'm happy that you're taking care of yourself and you have that practice of what you do before to be, mentally prepared for that, to take on that energy, and then also having that commute. I love being in my car for that reason. I'm like learning
Mhm.
in my car, I'm singing in my car. Sometimes I'm just like nothing, just like peace.
Yes.
Peace. Lord, have
Yes.
mercy. Peace.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes. Sometimes the radio wouldn't even be on, right? And so
Right.
it's now such a habit
Exactly.
that when other people are in the car with me, they're like, turn the radio. What is
Radio
that?
on.
It's quiet. What's going on? And I'm like, oh.
Hey sis, have you been looking for an opportunity to just get away, to just be? Join me this fall in Panama City, Panama. Contact me at unstuck@drsherlondaatkins.com for more information.
So, Dr. T, this has been amazing, and I can't help but to share something with our audience, if I can, that you shared with us, because it was so profound and it's just so perfect. I'm going to just read it as you sent it because we asked the question to all of our guests: what perspective do you bring as an Afro diasporic woman doctor that is often unheard? And y'all, this is what our girlfriend doctor said. It's so amazing. Okay. So you said, I bring the perspective of someone who has navigated multiple cultural worlds while building a professional life in spaces where representation has historically been limited. My upbringing and heritage have shaped a deep respect for education, faith, and community, especially collective advancement. What is often unheard is the layered reality of that experience. Many Afro diasporic women are navigating multiple identities at once. We are leaders, daughters of immigrant or globally connected communities, cultural translators, and sometimes quiet bridge builders between several of these worlds. So, our stories, our journeys are not only about our personal achievement, they're also about resilience, legacy, and the continuing work of reshaping and redefining leadership for the next generation of women who will follow. I have goosebumps just reading that.
Wow.
Yeah.
So, my goodness.
Mm.
Thank you for sharing that. And like, what are your thoughts as we're in this space and expanding on that for the audience?
Yeah, I think it just boils down to recognizing that we are powerful,
Mm,
right? Again, because of how we navigate through our life journeys, with the challenges and with the constant barriers that we're constantly up against, right? By the time we're done, by the time we get to the other side, we often don't have the opportunity to look back and see all that we've done and all that we've accomplished. But ultimately, what that translates to is strength. What that translates to is resilience. What that translates to is are amazing superpowers that are unique and intrinsically ours, right? And so rather than sort of playing along the narrative of being less than or succeeding in spite of,
right,
my sense, my notion, my thought is that, or my belief rather, is that we're all that, and not from a sort of like the reality is
right,
we are all of those things. That with if anything we are extremely powerful, right? Because of all the things we've had to do and all of the muscles we've had to work, right? So just from a very I was talking from just my personal experience. I was talking about how even without necessarily having tangible things under my belt. Now, this is what I thought in my head at the time, even though I had an Ivy League degree as a mom, I was powerful. Like that was my source of power.
yeah,
And if you think about what that entailed, like I'm like, I carried life. Did you? You know what I mean? Like
yes,
I
Yeah.
right.
birthed
The world exists
and
because we are.
I'm actually shaping
Yes,
a leader. I'm doing something phenomenal. I'm responsible for the life of this person. So even that in itself that we tend to overlook,
right.
if you really think about what that is pure power. When you think about the fact that our lived experiences are not so monolithic or uniform. There a lot of us have these dynamic backgrounds, right? So I'm Nigerian. I moved here when I was 10, 11 to New York. So I had sort of that background and that experience. I happen to, have my parents' genes. So we're all extremely smart. And so you're in this space where folks are like, well, smart people don't usually look like you. And I'm like, what is it where I'm from? Well, the
Right,
smartest
Hmm.
people
right,
were me. You know what I
right,
mean? They all
right,
look
Yeah.
like me.
right.
And so just being from an environment where I'd already my sense of self was already formed.
Yes,
I knew who I was. And so
yes,
when I'm, and then transitioning to a space where um I was one of one, right? And so you typically the only person of color in sort of these advanced accelerated classes, but it didn't matter because I've always, I had always been smart. Like I didn't have to negotiate my narrative. I was already who I was,
With the knowing.
but better because I had this other perspective, right? So everyone had the singular, and then I had this lived experience plus another lived experience, and so even just that dimensional approach to life, that in itself is a strength, right? So there's so many strengths that are uniquely ours, our ability to code switch and just successfully navigate different spaces at the same time. So, we're at work and in different spaces, my accent can change in six different ways at any given time. And people are used to it now,
Yeah.
because I always tell people you kind of have to take what you get because I'm not even sure when it's going to switch. But
Right.
sometimes it's like there are different people in the room. So sometimes if I'm looking at you, I'm
Yeah.
talking to you, so it's gonna adjust in
Yes.
that way.
Yeah.
But rather than me trying to, align with whatever,
Right.
it's who I am, right? And so the world has to conform to
Yeah.
who I
I,
am because
I love
I know that who I am is
Ooh,
is
child.
is the value
Yeah.
add, right? And so, that narrative is essentially what should be the dominant narrative and not what we've been subscribing to all these years. Like we're not less than, we're not the minority. We're
Right.
actually
We're the
we're,
majority.
we're,
Right.
we're the majority.
Yes.
We're dominant
Yeah.
for all of those reasons, right? And we have just the multiple gifts, and we've been able to develop the multiple different types of muscles to successfully navigate these different spaces and get to where we are. And I think when you operate with that mindset, all of a sudden there's nothing you can do. You don't look at opportunities as favors to you.
Right.
It's like you lost one. Like if
Right.
and I say that my poor kids, like
Mhm.
when they apply to colleges and they get a rejection, I'm like, oh, they're lost.
There are a lot. Right.
Yep.
If
Hmm.
Absolutely.
only they knew.
Yep.
Absolutely. Right. Right.
Yep. Yep.
Oh my
And
goodness.
when they finally accepted where they all go now, their respective colleges, I was happy for the school. I'm
Yeah.
like, you have an amazing jewel in your midst. And that's the way I've always sort of
I love that.
interacted with them. And they've always kind of looked at me like, what are you saying? You just saying it because you're my mother. I'm like, no, 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 and
Oh,
yes, but and no, right? But anyway, so that is all I was looking to say through that. It's something that I absolutely believe in, and I think that's why, again, spaces like the girlfriend space and is very important because imagine having a band of superheroes, like dynamic, amazing women come
Mm.
together, right? So to the point of collective advancement, imagine what it is we'd be able to do in terms of access to resource.
mm,
I think
yeah.
one thing you had said was when you were asked the question about resources, the people are the
Right.
resources,
Yes.
and they're not just the people, but the talents, the strengths, the
Yes.
skills, their lived
Everything that
experiences
they
in
bring.
itself, right? Everything that they bring to the table is the resource. So imagine pulling those resources
Mhm.
together. You could really just there's nothing you can't really
Right.
achieve in life, but we have to know that, and we have to operate from
From that
from
space.
that from that truth, if you will.
Yeah. Oh, I love that.
It's very
Honey, when you said the world has to
Oh,
conform to who I said, yeah.
I wrote that down.
Right. Listen to me. Okay. We have the opportunity from that space to create the world that we want by showing up as our full authentic self. So I absolutely love that. I'm gonna be using, I'll be like, my girlfriend, Dr. T, said the world has to conform to who I am. So
as they do, and they
yeah.
do.
Oh,
So
wow, wow. That was so empowering. And I love like even just in the small group we're in right now, the diversity. So of course I grew up in the United States. I've never lived anywhere else. And I remember the in my initial reaction after being with my Afro-Caribbean sisters and the same exact thing with being with my Nigerian sisters, I said, you all carry a different type of confidence. And so I didn't grow up here having that community and seeing all the, the Black power around me. So we were almost kind of taught like, in order to survive, the code switching is necessary and you kind of play it. Whereas I feel like in other cultures, you are given that from the beginning of, you are who you are, you're smart, you're brilliant, and make the world conform to who you are. So
yeah.
better late than never. So I got
Right.
it.
Yes.
Yes,
And I
I
think
know
that is
yes.
such the beauty
very,
of this cross-cultural space.
Yes,
Right?
Yeah.
absolutely.
If we've had one perspective of something to be able to share and have that knowledge, because I feel the same as you, Dr. T. When I was growing, when I left the Virgin Islands and I was, went to because I went to school in New York at Hofstra University. And,
Mhm.
we would have these conversations and I always felt like the odd one out because I'm like, well, my teachers are Black, my governor is Black, my
Yeah,
doctors are Black. Like, what is happening here,
right.
But
Yeah.
understanding like, place-based experience that shifts so much of our perspective. And so that's why these conversations are so important and that exposure across the diaspora is so important. Yeah.
Dr. T, thank you so much for answering the call and taking time out to share your brilliance. And I know that people listening are going to say, okay, where do we find her? Can we get her
Mm.
to come and speak? Can she coach me?
I also want to thank both of you again, like I said, for just curating this very, very important space for us to come out and share perspective and learn, quite frankly, which is exactly all the things that I've done today. In terms of where to find me, Dr. T Speaks, so it's drtspeaks.com. That's my website where you get to learn about the coaching and the facilitating and the speaking. And so it would be an honor to do all that with whoever is looking to do that with me. It's something I generally enjoy doing. And then Instagram, which is the one sort of social, I'm told I should do more, but the one social media platform that I'm on would be at Dr. T Speaks. So certainly feel free to connect with me there. I did also want to say, so in a few weeks, I'm going to be launching a couple of things that I want everyone to be on the lookout for. The first is a series of coaching programs called Lead and Clear, designed to help three sets of people. So one would be senior executives. The focus there is really about clarifying leadership. I know oftentimes we, as accomplished leaders, you could be doing so well, everything could be going so wonderfully, and then next thing you know, your vision is a little bit hazy because of external factors, right? And so what this particular program is designed to do is help you just figure it out and get you back on track to your original vision. And then by popular demand, I'm bringing back my career architecture program. These are for mid-level career people who are looking to pivot. So something specifically for them. And then the third program would be for either new managers or folks who've had the manager title, but really haven't been able to figure out how to navigate leadership in a very practical way. So there's on the lookout for it. The schedule is
Wow.
still, sorry, yeah, wow, but yes, but you did ask, and so I happen to. I've been at the lab.
Yes,
I've been
absolutely.
working on.
Yes.
And then the second product, if you will, is a journal. It's a faith-based journal that I am looking forward to releasing pretty soon. It's called Her Living Stones Journal, and so it's essentially a workbook that helps women like you and me and everyone listening to this. Essentially mine those jewels that we talked, those natural traits that we have inside of ourselves, but have been buried and hidden for all the things and all the reasons. And so it's a very practical way to pull them out, and figure out how to mine and apply them and know that you already have them in you. And so the question then becomes, so what, right? What do you do with those
Ooh.
jewels that are already within you? All right. And so that would be it. Very excited about launching all of those. Really excited about the
That's
Yes.
share
awesome.
them with you. Yeah. Thank
Well,
you.
Dr. T, it has been such an honor. Thank you again, Dr. Sherlonda, for introducing me to your girlfriend, doctor. This has been so informational, touching, and just, so many insights that I know it's going to bless our audience in some way. And I know somebody is going to be calling up Dr. T to speak, honey.
Yes.
There is so
Yes.
much
Thank you.
wisdom and so many gems to be shared. So thank you so much for answering the call, girlfriend, for our All Docs on Deck. We are so pleased to have you and to share this space with you as we continue to rise in this collective advancement.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Bye. Tonight we have the wonderful, the amazing, the one and only pharmacist, community advocate, yes, Dr. Keisha Christian.
Sometimes I go and on the phone with my therapist and I'm like, this is what happened. And she's like, do you hear how that sounds? Like you are the problem. And I'm like, I don't want to talk to you no more.
Yes.
That's a good therapist who will help you to see, because it can't always be everybody else's fault, right? It can't be everybody all the time.